Welcome back to Dead to the Co. I am your host, Chris. Ian was unable to join us today, and to be fair, I did just text him about 2 hours ago, so there wasn't much advance notice, but we'll be back soon with our regular programming where we review Dead and Company shows, as well as some fun episodes like we did last week when we did a tier ranking of our favorite Dead and Company songs. Today, I'm covering the MUSICARES Awards. I feel like there is a lot happening so far this year in Dead and Company world, and I think that's really exciting. So this podcast will also be covering recent events when they come up. With that said, I do want to put the question out there, is 2025 the year of the dead? So we had the Kennedy Center honors to start the year. Essentially, it was late December in DC. They got recognition from the president. Then we go to MUSICARES, where they're honored with Persons of the Year. Bob was just at the Grammys, and he takes a picture and shares it on his Instagram with Taylor Swift. They return to the Sphere this summer, and there's probably going to be a Grateful Dead 60 reunion. So this is a big year for the Dead, which is really fun to have a Dead and Company podcast, which, by the way, thank you for listening if you're here. This has been one of my favorite new hobbies. I'm looking forward to it every week. And if you're listening, I just want to ask, go ahead and follow us on Instagram at Dead to the Co. You might be the first follower after me. But since this show is new, we're trying to get a grasp of how many listeners we have. And that's a good way to build a community, keep you all updated on new podcast episodes, and so forth. So before we cover the MUSICARES set list, a little bit about MUSICARES, since they brought us all of this, is they provide critical health and welfare services to music professionals. So that's mental health and addiction recovery, health services, human services. And for this specific program, they donated the proceeds to the greater LA wildfires. So MUSICARES, thank you for what you do, and thank you for providing us this show with a lot of artists doing Grateful Dead songs. So we're going to go ahead and get to the show. Unfortunately, this was not a show that is available through Nugs or any other streaming service. We're relying here on people's YouTube videos who were there, and I'm fairly certain this was an exclusive event. You couldn't just buy tickets. I found the set list on the Dead and Company subreddit and then watched the show in bits and pieces on YouTube. It apparently started out with Dark Star and the other one with Bob Weir, and then Samson and Delilah by Warren Treaty plus Mick Fleetwood and Stuart Copeland. I didn't catch either of these first two songs, so off to a great start. But I did find a video for One More Saturday Night with My Morning Jacket and Maggie Rose. This was really good. It gave One More Saturday Night refreshing energy to the song while staying faithful. Definitely recommend watching that one on YouTube. Well worth your time. Then it was Ripple with Norah Jones. This was very different from the original, but it was really good. True Norah Jones style. I would love to hear this one actually record it. I'll definitely be coming back to this one. I don't think I need to speak about who Norah Jones is to people listening to the pod. Not that she's big in the Dead and Company scene, but more so she's just a popular artist in general. We go into Bertha after Ripple by Norah Jones, and that was Zac Brown Band and Marcus King. This one also sounded great. I would love to find the full video because I only got a snapshot of it. Zac Brown Band sounded good. Marcus King, of course, sounded excellent. He's an incredible guitarist. They played fast, and they shot to the crowd, and Mickey looked proud. And Bob's wife, Natasha, she was dancing. I think she was dancing the whole show. Bertha, well done by Zac Brown Band and Marcus King. Then we go into Ramble on Rose with Winona Judd. I didn't catch this one, but it looks like she's played it a lot over the years with Bob too, so she must be a friend. I'm sure some listeners are probably familiar with her. I'm unfortunately not, and she was back on the stage later. Friend of the Devil with Noah Kahan and Bella Fleck. So Noah is one of the trendiest artists in folk music right now. If you don't know, he has some hits that are going viral, and I like him. I think he's really talented. He's a good songwriter, and he just seems like a really good guy in general. His voice is great in Friend of the Devil. The support from Bella Fleck, again, not familiar, apologies in advance, added a really tasteful bluegrass touch to it. Next on the set list was Scarlet Begonias and Crazy Fingers by Vampire Weekend. I like Vampire Weekend. Their Father of the Bride album is excellent. I think they have a more recent one that I haven't listened to. Some of my other favorites from the past are Diane Young and Step. I wasn't crazy though about this Scarlet Begonias. It wasn't bad. I still enjoyed it, but yeah, it just didn't like fully do it for me. They go into Crazy Fingers though afterwards, and that was a fun way to end it. Then it's Dwight Yoakam with Truckin'. Dwight's a songwriter. It looks like he's more of a peer of Bob's than, one of these younger, trendier artists. And I hope I'm saying his name right and that I'm not a fool for knowing him, but I also didn't catch a video for this one. They Love Each Other with Maren Morris. Okay, earlier today, I think I saw Maren's performance of this on Instagram, but I can't remember if I actually saw a video of that. And then the one I saw on YouTube was just a guitar solo. So the solo sounded nice, but unfortunately I can't speak much on Maren's performance of the song. But Maren is a friend of John's, I believe, and she's on an upcoming How's Life. She has an appearance on How's Life with John Mayer, the Sirius XM show. So if anyone watches that show on Sirius XM or listens, let me know how it is. I don't have a Sirius subscription. At least I don't think I do. I guess most cars seem to come with it, but like whoever uses it. But yeah, Maren seems to be a friend of John's, so maybe we'll see her with Dead & Company at some point. Kind of like we saw Maggie Rogers play Friend of the Devil with Dead & Company back in 2019, which is still one of my favorite Friend of the Devils that Dead & Company has done. We go into Must Have Been the Roses by Sierra Farrell and Lucas Nelson. I really wish I saw this. I couldn't find it anywhere on YouTube, but Sierra Farrell's awesome, and Lucas Nelson is, of course, the son of Willie Nelson, and he was a key contributor for Bradley Cooper's A Star Is Born, for those who don't know. But yeah, I didn't see this one on YouTube, and that really upsets me because they're both two talented individuals, and I think that was probably a really special performance. So we're just going to say it was special. Next is Wharf Rat with Billy Strings. Of course, Billy being the future of the jam band scene, kind of changing the entire game. I think he did a really good job on Wharf Rat. It's one of the songs I've listened to less. He actually just released a collaboration with Martin, so I would love to get one of those Billy Strings guitars from Martin, but I don't have the money nor the skill set on guitar to properly do it justice. This was a delight. Like I said, I would love to see him sit in with Dead & Company at some point. I read somewhere that this was his first time revisiting the Dead in quite a while with his live performances, so I don't know why that is. I wish Ian was on the pod right now because he is the number one Billy Strings fan. But he made that acoustic guitar scream, man, like it was an electric. I think he did a great job on Wharf Rat. Again, a song that I was always been less familiar with. Loose Lucy next by Sammy Hagar. This was fun, rock and roll twist, but I'm not a huge fan of Loose Lucy in general, if I'm being honest. I didn't see Standing on the Moon by Bruce Hornsby, of course, former sit-in member with the Grateful Dead. And then we get Box of Rain with War on Drugs and Graham Lesh. So it's good to see Graham up there playing, son of the late Phil Lesh. Nice to see he also got a verse. I love War on Drugs. Their songs such as Red Eye, I Don't Live Here Anymore are great. I thought this song was good. The guitar sounded really nice as well. War on Drugs, the third lead singer, whose name I do not know, and I apologize, always reminds me of Bob Dylan, and I think that's, of course, a strong influence of his. I say, of course, because he has several lyrics that reference Bob Dylan. But Box of Rain was good, and I think they did a good job. Next was my favorite performance, Terrapin Station, John Mayer with Don Was and Jeff. I have been obsessed with this song. I've listened probably 20 times already. That's an exaggeration. But the support from Don and Jeff was great. Don was kind of the MVP of the night up there playing bass. For those who don't know, he is a producer. He also plays with Bob Weir and the Wolf Bros. And he produced my favorite John Mayer album, Born and Raised. So I've been familiar with Don Was for quite a while. Little detour, I got into Dead & Company because of John Mayer. I was a huge John Mayer fan probably since freshman, sophomore year of high school to now, really. And that was because Born and Raised came out. Yeah, so it was sophomore year of high school, 2012. Born and Raised came out in the spring. And I was like, this is music. It was my music awakening. And so I became a big John Mayer fan. He led me to the Dead. I was like, oh, this cool new thing my favorite artist is doing. Let's check it out. I listened to a few shows and I was hooked. And I went to my first show in 2016. So I've been Dead and Company fan because of John Mayer. So Terrapin Station was excellent. And the whistling in it was really cool. Just all in all, geeking out over it. Then we get the speeches. Apparently there was a Woody Harrelson speech I saw on Reddit. I actually didn't bother to look that one up on YouTube. Billy, Mickey, and Bob gave speeches. Billy did his virtually, but Mickey and Bob, I tuned into a little bit of theirs, and I thought something Mickey said was a good way to sign off the pod, but I'll just say it now. He says, "The Grateful Dead has been more than just music. It's about the people who believed in it and built something bigger than any one of us." So I thought that was just really cool. Of course, an ode to the Deadheads. Then we get Dead and Company coming out on stage for 3 songs to end it, which was cool. You know, I've only really ever seen Dead and Company in the context of their own concerts, not really play these like, you know, you don't see Dead and Company on Jimmy Kimmel playing 1 or 2 songs. That's just not how they roll. So they played Althea to start. It sounded really good. A song Dead and Company do very well. But I thought John brought a little something extra to the solo, and maybe that's because he had some people there, his peers, competitors in some sense. So I thought Althea sounded great. Grateful to have listened essentially to that whole song. Thank you to Chris Wellman on YouTube. Then they go into Sugar Mags. I didn't get to see a whole ton of that one. And then they brought everyone out, it looks like, for Touch of Grey at the end, which is a nice send-off. This brought me to a good question is, I wonder how they coordinate the set list for all of this. Like, who got dibs? Obviously, I have to imagine Bob and Dead and Company and John got first dibs on the songs, but I wonder who else, how they submitted the songs that they would play, or if they were asked to play a specific song, which if so, they did a good job at identifying who would be good on what song. Like, I thought the best fits were Noah Kahan on Friend of the Devil. Surprisingly, Norah Jones on Ripple, despite it not sounding like the original song. It was really cool. Wharf Rat Billy Strings. And let's see. And Bertha with Zach Brown Band and Marcus King. I would say those ones were my highlights from the night. So yeah, I thought it was awesome that Dead and Company got to perform at this MUSICARES fundraiser, and that these other artists got to celebrate the Grateful Dead as well. It's really cool to see how many different artists who all have different sounds. You know, I wouldn't compare Vampire Weekend to the Zach Brown Band, but they all are inspired by the Grateful Dead. And it was also cool to see like Marcus King playing with Zach Brown Band. So even just within the context of who the artists are, seeing them cross over and be in the same space. So those who were there, you're very lucky. I hope you had an incredible time. Share more with the rest of us if you have more videos or clips from the night. But thanks again for tuning in to Dead to the Co. Remember, follow us on Instagram at Dead to the Co. Subscribe to us on YouTube, again, at Dead to the Co. You can find the podcast episodes on there. Only the tier ranking one so far has video, but we'll get more videos up there soon. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Dead to the Co.